Tables, ladders, chairs, and championships. Oh my. Bound for Glory was TNA's biggest event of the year, and we have so much to talk about. Let's get to it. See you in a second.
Uh-oh.
Yes, boy!
French toast is the exchange student that you have like a 3-week affair with.
Hey, we can see that you don't have pants on.
Somebody hit somebody with a pie. Do something.
Giovanni yelling we're out of time as we go off the air.
Giovanni yelling a lot of things tonight.
And welcome to the Mark It Down podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome this fine Friday night. Oh my God, this fine Sunday night. You guys have no idea how tired I am after an exhausting New York Comic-Con. Thank you for joining us this Sunday night here at the Mark It Down podcast as we cover TNA Bound for Glory. Bound for Glory is the big one, guys. It is the show. It is the show of shows with TNA where everything leads to this moment. For better or for worse, we've been planning a lot to get here. And I think for the most part, it was pretty worth it. But I overall thought this show was great. I'm going to be very real with you guys. This is going to be a quicker review than usual. I'm going to give everything time, but I'm not going to be dilly-dallying all that much. We're going to get through all the good stuff. You guys know the deal, too. When I'm by myself, I got to do everything. I got to do the social media stuff. I got to cover the show. I got to be my own producer. It's exhausting. So I appreciate your patience. It shouldn't take too long. I'm actually kind of on top of things tonight, which is weird for me. I guess it's because I'm so exhausted that I'm sort of just not thinking. I'm just running on pure adrenaline and emotion, and let's see if it gets me through the night. But yeah, guys, like I said, I really enjoyed this show. I think that TNA was building up to this for a while, and it's paying off. So let's start. Very briefly, I will cover the pre-show, where we saw Mickie James and the beautiful people inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame. First of all, long overdue for all three of these women. Second of all, in some shape or form, all three of these women helped contribute the evolution of women's wrestling. All three of these women helped redefine what it means to be a women's wrestler. Mickie James is a multi-time women's world champion in multiple companies. The beautiful people helped redefine what could be a women's tag team. Strength, elegance, beauty, lasting power. These three women are some of the iconic women of TNA, and congratulations to them on being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Additionally, the pre-show also had a Knockouts tag team title match where the Inspiration took on the Elegance brand, and the Inspiration retained their tag titles, their newly won tag titles, this rematch for the tag titles. And I don't think anyone's really all that surprised by that. They, especially unfortunately with the news of Match by Elegance is retirement. We don't know what the Elegance brand is going to turn into, but we definitely need to transition a little bit away from them for the time being as we rediscover what that's going to be. I also think that, I hope at least, this is going to be the start of a very fun reset for the Inspiration, a team that I've spoken about here on the pod before as being very talented. We all know that, being very fun to watch, but not really getting a lot of time to highlight themselves the way that we know they should be. So, God willing, now as the new Knockouts Tag Team Champions and getting past this rematch with the former champions, this reign is going to be the start of some really fun stuff for these two women. So, great job from this match. Unfortunately, the crowd wasn't there, and by that I mean physically. It was still kind of a half-empty arena. Don't worry. Packed house, and we'll talk about that later. But packed house, and good for TNA for that. But unfortunately, these 4 women had to perform in front of half a crowd. The energy couldn't be there for them the way they should have had it. But they did a great job regardless. Let's get to the main show, where the TNA International Championship was on the line in another rematch, another championship rematch, as the new champion, Frankie Kazarian, defended against the former inaugural champion, Steve Maclin. This was a fun way to start the match. Maclin coming out just flanked by the military for his entrance. It was really cool to see, with his background. Maclin also acknowledging and having wonderful moments with his mother in the front row. Definitely see where Maclin gets some of his personality, and that's not a criticism. That's not a criticism. So I thought that was really cool to see. But the match was good, guys. It was a great way to start the show. It was a great way to get the energy going a little bit. Neither of these guys are trying to necessarily do anything never before seen, anything like brand new. This was a solid physical, psychological match. And we've seen them go at it before, so we knew that they had chemistry, and they still do. And this match proved that. There were some fun moments as Kazarian hits a Pele kick to honor AJ Styles, and he hits a Angel's Wings to honor Christopher Daniels. So I thought that was really cool, especially this week, obviously, with Cena, AJ, and all the homages that match had, all the fun little winks and nods. So for Kazarian to do that to his former partners, former opponents, I thought that was really cool. And the finish coming after Kazarian getting a little cocky, trying to hit a tag him and bag him onto Maclin, who's able to scout the move, and then turn it into one of his own and hitting the tag him and bag him spear into the corner onto Frankie, and then hitting the KIA for the 1-2-3, and now a 2-time TNA International Champion, Steve Maclin. Steve got to celebrate out in the crowd with his mom. He put the belt on her shoulder, and then both of them hit a celebratory flipping of the bird, throwing that middle finger up to the crowd, to the camera, and that was fun. That was fun. So good way to start the show. Good way to get people into it. And I questioned a couple weeks back why they would have Maclin lose the title at another show when they could have done it at Bound for Glory. And I get it now. This was about him having a winning moment in front of such a big crowd. So I thought that was really, really cool, and good for Maclin. He seems very dedicated to TNA, and this is a great reward for such a dedicated star. So good for him. And Frankie also, he's doing the job here as the heel on this big show, and he put on a great performance as well. So I thought that was cool. We then go backstage as we have a backstage segment with Trick Williams, the TNA World Champion, the NXT star, the WWE star, Trick Williams. Trick talking about what he means to TNA, how people came here paid to see Trick Williams. Attendance records are being set by Trick Williams for TNA. And he talks about how people in TNA don't like him. He talks about how people in NXT don't like him. He talks about how nobody likes him, even though it seems that everyone seems to like Mike Santana. Trick's got it. He's just got it. He's a great cocky heel champion and just a great heel in general. So let's see if he's able to really maintain this moving forward. And I'm rooting for him. I think he's just so entertaining. Moving on, we got to a match that I was probably more excited than maybe anybody else was for this match. It didn't make sense to be on this card in any real way, but I don't care. We had Tessa Blanchard taking on Mean Gia Miller, the hardest working woman in TNA wrestling. Now, if you're a Gia Miller super fan, the way I am, you know that Gia is not some inexperienced, never wrestled before woman. She does quite a bit of indie work, most popularly with Wrestling Revolver. And she's got a very interesting gimmick with that. She's got a very interesting look with that. Very tonally different than the Gia Miller we're familiar with in TNA, who's very sweet and very fun and very personable. Her character on the indies, her wrestling character, is way darker and way different. And she brought that tonight, which was interesting. Wasn't expecting it, but I'm glad she did. She came out just as Tessa Blanchard was flanked by Victoria Crawford. Gia was flanked by Jody Threat. Eventually, both women got tossed out, which made sense. But this was a pretty clear story. This was more story than matchup, where you have a champion who's very cocky and is sure she is better than her opponent. I said champion. She's not a champion, but you have a star who's very confident in themselves and is very much overlooking her opponent and easily gets surprised by her opponent. And Gia brought it. She definitely brought it. This was a quick match. It didn't need a lot of time. But they delivered. Gia really was getting the crowd behind her. People were rooting for the upset, and she showed that she can go. Some pacing was a little off, unfortunately. Some timings were a little bit off, but Gia showed some gusto, going for big moves, having some big spots like a crossbody off the top rope, surprising us with some quick pins, and definitely caught Tessa off guard. The finish coming with Gia going for a power bomb from the corner onto Tessa, while the and as she's going for that power bomb, Tessa seemed to have grabbed something from the turnbuckle, and the turnbuckle rips off, which distracts the referee, allowing Tessa to hit Gia with what seemed to be a roll of quarters. A very nice play on things that her old dad, Tully Blanchard, had done years ago. So hitting the quarters on Gia from that power bomb position, then allowing her to get the 1, 2, 3. And we see that this overly confident star who thought she had everything in hand didn't really. And she needed a little bit of help to put down Gia. Now, again, I'm a Gia Miller super fan, so I was really, really, really happy that this match happened and she got to have her first TNA match at Bound for Glory. But Tessa is undeniably a star that they are looking to bank on for a very long time. Why she would have a match on the biggest show against someone like Gia Miller, no disrespect intended towards Gia Miller, but someone who's not really an active member of their knockouts division. It's curious. And then to have her need to cheat to win. Even Tom Hannafin asks, if she didn't use those quarters, if she didn't cheat to win, was Gia going to get the win? And Ray Wald said it best, we'll never know. But the fact that there's that question, it's very interesting that they would do that to Tessa. So let's see how that goes. Let's see how that progresses. But very happy for Gia. And fun little match. We then go to the Call Your Shot Gauntlet match. Now, guys, if you don't know how this match works, I'll explain it to you real quick. It's basically a Royal Rumble setup. 2 opponents start the match. And then every increment of time, I think it was like every 2 minutes, maybe every 90 seconds, I'm not entirely sure, a new opponent would enter the match. And the way you get eliminated is to be tossed over the top rope until you get to the final 2, in which it turns into an actual match where the winner needs to pin the other. So it's always a fun match to watch. I love elimination style matches in general. Doesn't matter if it's over the top rope or if it's pinning. I just love elimination matches. And I love the combination of both here. And it's also important to note a couple of things. One, men and women in the match. It's not just for the men. It's not just for the women. And the winner gets essentially a Money in the Bank-like opportunity to cash in on any title of their choosing at any point. So if you want to cash in on the World Championship, you can, or if you want to cash in on the X Division Championship, you can, or if you're a woman who wins it, you could cash in on any of those belts, but also the Knockouts Championship, obviously. And it's always really interesting how this plays out. Sometimes for the best, sometimes not so much, but we'll talk about that. Like I said, this was 20 opponents. I'll go into it really, really briefly. Started out with Lei Ying Li taking on Mara Shade. Out comes Ryan Nemeth, who tries bullying the women, but they get the upper hand on him pretty quickly. Quickly after that is Nick Nemeth, who makes the save and turns the table on the women, protecting his brother. Out comes Cedric Alexander to once again turn the tides and give the women some assistance against these dastardly Nemeths. We then get Rich Swann, followed very quickly by AJ Francis. And AJ was the first person to get some eliminations. He eliminates Mara Shade, he eliminates Lei Ying Li, and then he eliminates Rich Swann, which is very, very interesting. I want to see if this is something that's going to continue moving forward on Impact. I wonder if this is the end of First Class. I hope not, but it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Then out comes Travis Williams, Saint from Sinner and Saint. And then a really fun one. As someone who is on YouTube talking about wrestling, I need to hype up this guy. BDE made his TNA debut. Now, guys, we all know there are no other wrestling podcasts on the internet. There are no other YouTube channels that cover wrestling, but there is this one cool guy, BDE, who has a bit of a following, I guess, on YouTube, and sometimes maybe talks about wrestling. So to see someone from this side of the screen go to that side of the screen, it was awesome. It was awesome, and I was just happy he got to have a fun moment. And then after BDE comes out the Rascals as a unit. All three of them basically came in as one entry. It didn't make any sense, but it was fun, and I just love seeing the Rascals. After that, a combination of the Rascals and BDE all helped each other in eliminating AJ Francis. So good for BDE, and good for the Rascals, and AJ Francis looked like a bastard and a strong one at that during this match. So good work from all of them. After BDE, after the Rascals, Danny Luna came out. Eric Young. I'm going to try to just go through all the entrances now just to make this a little bit easier. Jake Something, Rosemary, the Hometown Man, Zach Clayton, Jody Threat, which was, we're going to caveat, Matt Cardona, and Mance Warner. Now, Jody Threat came out, made her entrance. You know, she runs around the ring, getting all hyper, getting all manic and everything. But as she's going around the ring, she gets clotheslined. Just ripped by Frankie Kazarian. Frankie clotheslines her. This brings out Santino Marella, the director of Authority, who gets in Frankie's face. Frankie says somebody needs to fill that spot, and he does. He takes advantage of his downed victim, I guess, in Jody Threat, who did just not have a good night, whether it was in the Knockouts match or here. Just really feeling bad for Jody Threat there. This then brought out the next entrant, who was Santino Marella, who hits the Cobra, brings out the Cobra, and then uses his Cobra strike onto Frankie, knocking him out of the ring, but not over the top rope. Eventually, we get to the final few people, and it's Mance Warner, it's Ryan Nemeth, it's and Matt Cardona. There's a lot of shenanigans. Mance Warner is eliminated by Cardona. Ryan and Nick are trying to take out Cardona. Nick accidentally super kicked Ryan instead. Cardona then gets eliminated by Steph DeLander and Mance Warner from the outside. Steph DeLander, who is Matt Cardona's former valet. So let's see where this leads. And then you think that Nick Nemeth was the last one, along with, I guess, Cardona, but then we are all reminded that Frankie Kazarian never got eliminated. Both men go at it very briefly. eventually ending in what was a bizarre choice. A double finish, a double pin. Both men pinned each other. Two different referees counted two different victors, one claiming Nick Nemeth, one claiming Frankie Kazarian. This brings out Santino Marella, who makes the decision, along with the officials, that both men are the winners. And we have two Call Your Shot Gauntlet winners, meaning both men have an opportunity to cash in that trophy. Yes, it's a trophy. To win to call whatever title that they want. The crowd hated this. This was by far the longest match of the night, at least so far. And to end on a non-finish, something that shouldn't happen, and to do that with two heels, I don't know what TNA was thinking on that one. It was a little rough. That was definitely a little rough. I feel bad because there were some very fun spots in this match. Danny Luna shined, taking out men and women. I gotta feel bad for Jake Something, who, no matter how dominant they try to make him, and they do, they just don't let him win anything. He's booked so weird. I just never, ever understand it. The hometown man got some eliminations, which I thought was very fun. And yeah, Eric Young and Saint had some back and forth, the former colleagues in the Northern Armory. So overall, this was a pretty fun matchup. Very bizarre finish that did not go over well with most people. It's pretty obvious that would lead to something eventually, and we'll talk about that. But yeah, not thrilled. And my God, guys, nobody told me. I still have the Tessa Blanchard, Gia Miller banner up. Call Her Shot Gauntlet right there. But moving on, we go to our TNA Knockouts World Championship match as NXT star champion Kalani Jordan defends against Indy Hartwell. This match was good. The crowd really wasn't giving them much, and I feel bad for it because these women were showing up, starting very even, starting very back and forth, exchanging some holds and some pins. I like Kalani Jordan. I think she's a great talent. I'm still just never thrilled that these NXT people are holding the TNA titles, but it served a purpose here, for better or for worse. And she is an excellent competitor. And these women put on a hell of a matchup. At one point, it really did look like Indy had it beat, hitting her finish onto Kalani, the Hertz donut finisher. But unfortunately for Indy, Kalani was able to drape her foot on the rope to break the pin. Hartwell tried to go for a top rope elbow drop onto the back of Kalani, which she had hit earlier, but she misses. And this allows Kalani to go for the one-of-a-kind split leg moonsault, get the 1-2-3, and retain the TNA Knockouts World Championship. Now putting some doubt in TNA fans' minds as to whether or not it's a guarantee that Mike Santana was going to bring the gold back home later. This was a very smart way to book the show because we were all expecting TNA to get major wins tonight. TNA stars to get major wins over NXT stars and to bring the gold home. So now that we've seen at least once that it's not a guarantee to happen. It might not be at all. So well done on their part. And I'm sure it won't last forever, but for now, Kalani Jordan is our Knockouts champion still. We then go backstage as the Nemeth brothers are celebrating Nick's win and his Call Your Shot Gauntlet trophy. This brings out Frankie Kazarian. Both men start to argue over the logistics of this, but Frankie leaves and sort of implies that let's see what happens tonight. So very fun, very ominous. We then go into, guys, such a fun matchup. A hardcore war between the System and Order 4. Now, hardcore war, if you guys aren't familiar, it is essentially it is tag team warfare where very similar to like Blood and Guts or War Games, 2 opponents from opposing teams start, and then they alternate back and forth, bringing in members from the team until all members are in. Obviously, there's no cage here, but as you enter the match, you're allowed to bring 1 weapon into the match, whether it's a kendo stick. If you're just theoretically Eddie Edwards bringing in a kendo stick, or Dr. Steele's bringing in thumbtacks, stuff like that. And then once those weapons are introduced, they're just part of the matchup, but they aren't until somebody chooses to bring them in for their entrance into the match. It's a fun concept. Guys, this was brutal. Just some highlights, because to go over the entire match would be nuts. I finally get it with Agent Zero. They made him look like an absolute stud, an absolute monster, an absolute bastard. He hits a huge chokeslam, double arm chokeslam onto Alicia, onto thumbtacks. I know Alicia's not everyone's cup of tea, but God, if you do not have more respect for her after this match tonight, I don't know what to tell you. You guys are crazy. He took multiple kendo stick shots from Brian Myers and from Fandango. He took out Eddie Edwards. It wasn't until Moose came in, fighting him off and using a chain and using 2 big spears, one of which with the chain wrapped around his shoulder. It was so good. Moose, another one I got to talk about, coming in and having his Thor moment. This was Infinity War. The Order 4 had the advantage that it was Order 4 getting the first teammate each round. And by the end of it, the system were being beat down, and Moose comes in making the save, very much like Thor confronting Thanos in Infinity War. This just felt like, here's the guy who's going to mess you up. So that was really cool. And the finish coming after everybody getting rid of Agent Zero, Mustafa Ali pours more thumbtacks all over Alicia's body, then goes for a 450 splash off the top rope where Alicia rolls out of the way and Mustafa just dives, plants onto those thumbtacks. This gives Eddie Edwards just enough time to wrap barbed wire around his knee and hit a Boston knee party. He is from Massachusetts, where they were for the show tonight. And 1, 2, 3, the system beats Order 4. Very, very, very well done. Very fun matchup. Really fun matchup. I love schlocky matches like this, and it absolutely delivered. Moving on to, guys, not only the best match of the night, one of the best high-flying matches I think I've seen in a very, 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 very long time, if ever. Both of these kids, the TNA X Division champion, Leon Slater, the youngest ever X Division champion, Leon Slater, at 21 years old, defending against VonEvans of NXT, also 21 years old. One of the big things that they kept hyping up with this match is that they are 21, they are young, they are the future of wrestling. And guys, they are. If they choose to stick with this sport for a long time, they'll be dominating for a long time. But the reality, at least for me, isn't that they're just the future of wrestling. They feel like the now of wrestling. They feel like the present. These kids aren't, like, of course, we're always learning. Every day we're always learning. But they don't need to be learning to be doing what they're doing. They are operating on superstar, megastar levels. Oh my God, they were going move for move, strike for strike, hold for hold, pin for pin, jump for jump. It was amazing. These guys killed it. And then we got to the finish. And the finish came with a draw. And not just a draw, multiple draws. We hit our 20-minute time limit, something that I didn't even know was implemented into the match. I'm sorry if I wasn't paying attention, but there was a 20-minute time limit, and both of these men hit it. The crowd is very disappointed. They wanted to see a finish, and this brings out Santino Marella, who says we can't let it end this way. 5 more minutes. The crowd ate it up, and Javon and Leon absolutely delivered for as long as they could, the best they could, until the lights go out and in comes Dark State, beating up both challenger and champion, TNA star and NXT star, and just ruining the mood, ruining the vibe. Guys, I'm just going to say it. If you don't want either of your stars to lose a match, don't book them in the match. There are instances where non-finishes absolutely work, and it's to serve the story. Sometimes you got to push, you got to drag things out a little bit, you got to expand on things. So certain finishes you just can't do. But this wasn't that. NXT very clearly didn't want Javon to lose, and TNA very clearly didn't want their X Division champion to be an NXT star. They didn't want Leon Slater to drop the title. Don't book the match then yet. Do it at a point where you're okay with either of these guys losing. To give the crowd 20 minutes, a draw, restart the match, and then end in a DQ double draw again, it's whack. People did not like it. And I don't blame them. I wasn't crazy about it either. It really, like, I should have known that there'd be something messy and fucky with it, but I really thought that we were going to get it after Santino came out. So, bummer. It shouldn't take away from how great the match was, but unfortunately, this is wrestling. The finish always dictates if people are going to remember a match fondly or not. But it was a really fun, amazing matchup up until the messiness of the finish. So go check it out. Absolute banger of a match. After this, we had a very fun surprise as Chris Bay, the ultimate finesser, walks out. Yeah, you heard me. He's walking through the entrance and speaks about the show a little bit, and then makes the announcement of TNA's attendance figures for this show. They drew just upwards of 7,000 fans. I think it was like 7,700 fans was the announced attendance, setting a North American record. Now, supposedly the number is inflated a little bit. Supposedly there's a good chance Slammiversary in Long Island was a bigger crowd than Bound for Glory. I'm sure they're slightly I know they were aiming for 8,000 for this show, so I'm sure they're slightly disappointed they didn't get it. But still something to be very proud of. TNA is really rebuilding its audience. TNA is really rebuilding its appeal to crowds. So this was great. I'm happy to see them be successful. And I do have one more point about it, but we'll talk about it as we move a little longer with the show. And it's just to say, it was awesome seeing Chris Bay. So happy he seems to be doing somewhat better. So happy he seems to be doing, able to live comfortably, somewhat at the very least, that he's able to do stuff like this. And as always, just wishing him the best in his recovery. Would love to one day see him back in a TNA ring or a wrestling ring in general. Whether or not that happens, I just want the best for Chris Bay. But all right, guys, going on to what was probably the most hyped up match of the show. One final table. As the Dudleys, Team 3D, took on the NXT and TNA World Tag Team Champions, the Hardys. Guys, this was something. The Dudleys came out first, and they weren't alone. Team 3D was not alone. They were flanked by their brother, their little brother. In TNA, we know him as Brother Runt. In WWE and ECW and everywhere else, we know him as Spike Dudley. You know it. I hope you're watching at some point, whether it's now or later. This was great, man. You finally got your Spike Dudley moment, and it was awesome. Out comes the Hardys, draped in gold. Got a comment really quickly. The Hardys not only winning the NXT tag titles this last week, on Friday, they captured the House of Glory Tag Team Championships as well from the main event. Unfortunately, they didn't bring those belts out with them for this. I guess WWE just wanted their belts highlighted along with TNA. But congratulations to the Hardys on that front. And guys, this match was more about the feels than anything else. To see the Hardys and the Dudleys in the ring one last time and seeing these men very clearly so emotional. It was special. It was special. Was the match anything incredible? No. It wasn't anything new. It wasn't anything we haven't seen before. It wasn't anything. It wasn't changing the game. But you know what? These guys changed the game 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago. And tag team wrestling was reignited by these guys, the Hardys, the Dudleys, Edge and Christian. They reignited tag team wrestling. They created matches like TLC. So to see them have a goodbye was special. The Dudleys dominated the first half of this match and just hitting 3Ds, hitting their classics, the what that headbutt. 1, 2, 3, Devon, get the tables. There was just so many classic Dudley bits here. And I think a part of it was probably because they can't really take bumps. Not really. So they just needed them to look good in the first half and then let the Hardys put them through the tables. Jeff was actually the first one thrown through a table pretty early on by the Dudleys. I think he got 3D'd through the table. We then move forward where Matt is fighting valiantly on his own. Jeff gets back in it and helps his brother. They established that this match you could only be eliminated via table spot if it's in an offensive table maneuver. Like you can't be thrown through it defensively. It wouldn't count. It needed to be an offensive attack. And it came into play a few times. Matt missing an elbow drop and going through the table. Bubba running through a table trying to push Matt through it. The next elimination came a little while later as Jeff recreated his famous WrestleMania 2000 Swanton. Instead of Bubba, he hits it on Devon this time, putting Devon through the table in the entrance ramp. I won't lie to you guys, I was terrified because it really looked like Jeff hit his head on on one of the rungs of the ladder, but he seems fine. He seems to have been okay. And one thing I got to comment, the Hardys and the Dudleys showed so much emotion in this match. Obviously, it was a very emotional time, but Jeff seemed so excited. Jeff seemed to revel in the importance of what this was. And that was really cool to see him get so hype and so passionate about what was happening. Just multiple times screaming and yelling and just being exuberant. After Devon was done, it really came down to Matt and Bubba, Bully Ray, and they go back and forth for a bit. Some failed attempts going through tables. Eventually, Jeff gets back into it, and Matt and Jeff just sort of beat Bully down with chairs. Bully gets back up and turns towards the Hardys, knowing he's defeated. The Hardys throw their chairs to the ground, say that they're sorry, and then double slam him, basically like crucifix drop him through the table, getting the win, retaining their TNA and NXT Tag Team Championships. But that's not the full story, guys. As the Hardys are celebrating, they embrace the Dudleys. They embrace Team 3D. And the Dudleys stop them. And they do something that I guess we're probably expecting, but we can never be fully prepared for. Team 3D unlace their boots, remove them, and then present them to the Hardys. Now, guys, you've been following wrestling long enough to know what that means at this point. When you leave your boots in the ring, it's over. You're retiring. You're calling it a career. And that's what we saw. The Hardys, the Dudleys, Team 3D, whatever you want to call them, embracing in the ring 4 warriors in a 20-plus year rivalry, celebrating their long, long history together. It was a beautiful moment. It was an awesome moment. The crowd was electric. And I'm very glad that Team 3D, I'm very glad that the Dudleys got to go out saying goodbye one last time. So bravo to TNA, bravo to the Dudleys, bravo to the Hardys, bravo to the crowd in Lowell, Massachusetts. Everything worked to make this a magical, magical moment. So thank you, Team 3D, for everything you've contributed to professional wrestling. We're all fans here. Don't worry, bully. Now, moving on to the main event, as we have the TNA World Championship on the line as Trick Williams defends against Mike Santana. Guys, this was a really fun back and forth match. It felt like nothing the other man was doing was enough to put down their opponent. We had the cowardly champion, Trick Williams, doing everything he can to cheat, using the championship, using the steel steps, attacking from behind, doing everything he can to get any advantage that he could. And then we had Mike Santana, the gritty, never say die challenger, hitting every big move in his arsenal and still not being able to put out the champion. Great back and forth match. Eventually, the finish coming after Santana and Trick go back and forth with strikes, whether it's the trick knee or the trick shot, whatever it may be, into the rolling clothesline, the rolling discus lariat from Santana, the attack, the around the block or attack the block. I think it's around the block. And just finally, Santana is able to put Trick down with his discus clothesline. 1, 2, 3, and we have a new TNA World Champion. It was a beautiful moment. His wife and daughter, his family were in the crowd. His daughter, so clearly emotional in this moment. Santana, so clearly emotional after this long journey to the TNA World Championship, betting on himself when nobody else would as a single star. Very proud of Mike, very proud of his dedication. And then came the mess. Lights go out. Nick Nemeth's music hits. He comes down the entrance ramp with the gauntlet, with the trophy, making it clear he wants to cash in on Mike Santana. The lights go out once again. You hear that all too familiar guitar riff, and there he is, Elijah, aka Elias, aka Ezekiel, aka whatever else he might be. He's got guitar in hand. Nick Nemeth turns around, whammo, guitar shot to the head. 1, 2, 3, not 1, 2, 3, but he's done. We then go back to the ring where Frankie Kazarian shows up, making it clear he wants to cash in the Collier Shot Gauntlet trophy. Problem is he doesn't have the trophy. Nick does. So he hesitates. He goes to try and get the trophy, but Santana pushes him back, and then he hits his finish, and that's that. I didn't need this. Sometimes it's okay to just let a moment be a moment. Sometimes it's okay. You don't need to add drama in certain stories, in certain instances, in certain situations. This was one of them. The guy has been battling for months and months to go for this TNA World title, and we've seen him come up short, unfortunately. No matter the circumstances, we've seen him come up short. This was his moment to celebrate, and he did get it. I don't want to make it seem like the moment was ruined, but the reality is it got messier in a situation that was pretty straightforward. So that's always a bummer to see, but made up for it beautifully as Santana's daughter joins him in the ring as they're celebrating his huge title win, his huge celebration of championship gold. Guys, that was Bound for Glory. It was a fun show, some great wrestling, some questionable finishes across the board. But overall, just a fun show, and I'm very much looking forward to where TNA goes next. They already announced the next time they'll be on pay-per-view will be Genesis in January. You know, that's a common show for TNA, so that's cool to see them continuing that tradition. great matchups, great moments. One final table. I put one last table. I'm gonna change that. One final table between the Hardys and the Dudleys. Mike Santana finally winning the TNA World Championship. The Call Your Shot Gauntlet madness. The hardcore war insanity between the system and Order 4. There was just so much good here. And of course, Tessa Blanchard. But guys, thank you so much for joining me as we talk about Bound for Glory this Monday morning. Oofta. I'm tired, boss. I'm real tired. You know the deal. If you're new here and you're checking us out for the first time, thank you. Much appreciated. Don't know what brought you here. Glad you checked us out. Hope you liked it. And if you want to join us for more, because we cover all the wrestling, the WWEs of the world, the AEWs of the world, the TNAs of the world, obviously. If they've got letters in their name, we cover it. So hit that like and subscribe so you can be part of the fun moving forward. And if you're one of our regulars, thank you so much for always being here, making this ride so much more fun. Also, of course, check us out on social media: Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, X, TikTok, all the fun stuff. Go check us out. I'm James Gisanti. This is the Mark It Down podcast. And when we cover TNA, we're in the gym pack zone. Guys, go to bed, stay safe in this weather, and have a good night, because I'm going to go to sleep so quickly as soon as this is over. Going to bed. Later, guys.